Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are on page 123, and our objective for the day is today I will skip count by tens within 1,000. Okay, so our objective or goal for the day is today I will skip count by tens within 1,000. So today we're actually going to be doing two different things. One, we're doing a new number of 10 because we've already done skip counting by 2 and then we did skip counting by 5. So today we're doing 10, and then we're also going to be skip counting and writing our answers on a number line, which we have not done before. So let's look at our vocabulary before we get started. Okay, it tells us skip count by tens. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then it tells us skip count by tens within 1,000. So here they're not starting at 10, they're starting at 230. But what they're still doing is when you skip count, you're adding 10 each time. So they're adding 10, so 230 plus 10 is 240. 240 plus 10 is 250. And they're continuing all the way to 300. Okay, here it says skip count by tens within 1,000 and crossing the hundreds mark. So if you notice what they're talking about right here is this. Let's underline that part. It says 460 plus 10 gives me 470. 470 plus 10 gives me 480. 480 plus 10 gives me 490. But then when I add 10 to 490, I get 500. So this is the part that we have to be careful about, is when we go to the next 100 that we're careful. Okay, here they're showing us what that number line is going to look like. So when I had done them in the past, I was writing them vertically, which is top to bottom, and I'm going to show you that. What they want us to do today is we're going to write them on this number line. So this is kind of a new thing that we're doing today. Okay, and then the pattern, remember we've been looking at our patterns. So let's see, what do we see when we skip count by tens? The first pattern I see is I always have a 0 in the ones place. I always have a 0 in the ones place. So when I skip count by tens, it's always a 0 in the ones place. Look at this in the tens place. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to go back to the top and look what happens in the tens place, because we know in the ones place there's always going to be a 0. Always a 0 in the ones place. So let's look what happens in the tens place. I have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and look what it goes back to a 0. Let's see that one more spot down here. Let's look right here. So I have a 0 in the ones spot, in the ones place. And let's look at the tens place. I have a 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. 1, 2, 3. What would you think would come next? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So that's the pattern that I see, is that in the ones I'll always have a 0, and in the tens it's going to go from 0 to 9 and then start over. So that's a good way to check your work, is check those patterns. Okay, let's look at our steps. We're going to skip count verbally. Verbally means we're actually going to say it out loud. The reason we say it out loud is that sometimes if you make a mistake when you're writing it, you don't catch it, but when you hear it, you were like, wow, that doesn't sound right. So it's a good way to not make mistakes. We're going to write the number stated and then find and explain the pattern. Okay, so boys and girls, I'm going to get started. If you want to set down your pencil, you're just going to watch me for a moment, because I'm going to have my red pen, which means you don't have the problem. Here's my first problem. It says I'm going to skip count by tens from 680 to 720. So I'm going to go from 680 to 720. Now when we did this last time, boys and girls, what I was doing is I was doing it down here. So I would go 690, and then here's where it gets a little tricky. 700, 710, 720. So let's look at that pattern really quick. Look what's in our ones place. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's look what's in our tens place. I have an 8, then a 9. Then I go back to 0, 1, 2, and if I continued, it would be 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's how we did it in the last few lessons. We went vertically. What they want us to do now is they want me to write it on this number line instead. So when you write numbers on number lines, what you do is it's a little different. You put them right underneath what we call these like dashes. So my first number is going to go right there, 680. It's going to go right under there, and they don't give me lots of room, but that's 680. What was my next number? 690, and then 700, 710, and 720. So what are they doing between each jump? They're adding 10. That's what skip counting means. They're adding 10 between each jump. So that's called skip counting. And then we already explained our pattern. Our pattern is in the ones place, we always have a 0, and then in the tens place, it counts to 9 and then starts over at 0. Okay, let's look at my next one. My next one says, skip count by tens to 490, start at 460. Okay, so I don't have to do it vertically now. I don't have to do it top down because they want me to use this. So they want me to start at 460, and I try and do it under the dash, then 470, 480, and I know, ladies and gentlemen, they don't leave me a lot of room under these dashes. 490. So what happened is they added 10 each time. 460 plus 10 is 470. 470 plus 10 is 480. 480 plus 10 is 490. And then let's look at that pattern again. We have 0, 0, 0, 0. You always have a 0 in your ones place. And let's look at our tens place. 6, 7, 8, and 9. And if we went on after the 9, we would start back at 0. Okay, friends, let's try some together. We are on page 124. If you can join me. We are on page 124. And here is our first problem. Our first problem says, skip count by tens from 590 to 630. Okay, so that tells us they want us to start at 590. Okay, so we're going to do our best to write our number underneath this dash. And I know they're small. So 590. And then if we're skip counting by tens, that means we add 10. So if we added 10 to 590, this one's kind of hard, we would get to 600. And then if we add 10 again, we're going to get 610. And I'm trying to write a little sideways so I have room. And then if we add 10 again, we're making a 10 jump. We're going to get 620. And then if we add 10 again, we're going to get 630. Sorry, my 3's kind of messy, friends. Okay, so let's check our pattern there. What do we see in our ones? All zeros in our ones place value. And what do we see in our tens? I see a 9, 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's a good way to tell us that we didn't make any mistakes. Again, I'm sorry, we're so squished. Okay, let's look at our next one together. This one says, skip count by tens to 380, and they want us to start at 320. They try and kind of trick us by putting the smaller number here and the larger number here. That's okay, just know we always have to start with the smaller one. So we're gonna start at 320, and I'm gonna still continue to make it a little sideways so I have room. Okay, and then 320, when I skip count, I add 10, I get 330. And then when we add 10 to 330, we get 340. I'm trying to write under these dashes. And then when I add 10 again, I get 350. And when we add 10 again, we get 360. And if we add 10 again, we get 370. And I have to go all the way to 380. So let's add 10 again. And we get 380. Okay. Let's check our pattern. Do we have all zeros in our ones place value? Yes. Let's check our tens place value. We have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, friends, who knows what would probably come next in my tens place value? Would we have a 9 next? Hopefully you're thinking. Okay, so boys and girls, you have some pages to try on your own. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.